It was raining the night I found out, not just outside, but inside me too. My husband's laughter echoed from the living room, and through the half-open door, I saw what no wife should ever see. My best friend, the one who held my veil at my wedding, was sitting on his lap, whispering something that made him smile in a way he hadn't smiled at me in months. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My hands trembled as my phone slipped from my grip and hit the floor. The sound made them freeze. Their eyes met mine. Hers widened in fake guilt, his filled with panic. I walked away without a word, because silence, at that moment, was louder than any scream. That night, I sat in my car under the rain and promised myself one thing: they will never see me broken. They thought they could humiliate me behind my back, but I would make them pay in front of the world, not with rage, but with calm precision. I didn't cry, I planned. Every tear turned into a strategy, every betrayal into a weapon. And when I finally struck back, they didn't even realize it was me, until everything they built on lies started collapsing, piece by piece. Because love may blind you, but betrayal, it teaches you how to see. Hey everyone, welcome back to Flame Revenge, where every story burns with betrayal, heartbreak, and the power of taking control again. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell, because today's story will make your heart race and your mind spin. This isn't just another cheating story, it's a story about trust shattered, friendship destroyed, and a woman who refused to be anyone's victim. She didn't just walk away, she walked through the fire and came out stronger than ever. At Flame Revenge, we share stories that remind you, even in your darkest moments, you can rise again. You can hurt, heal, and win all on your own terms. So sit back, take a deep breath, and prepare yourself for a story that starts with betrayal, but ends with brilliance. Because when love turns to lies and loyalty turns to poison, revenge doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes it means redemption. Now, let's step into the story of a wife who discovered her husband's affair with her best friend and taught them both a lesson they'll never forget. I'm Lena, 31 years old, and for most of my adult life, I believed I was one of the lucky ones. I had a loving husband, Ethan, who made everyone believe we were the perfect couple, and a best friend, Maya, who had been by my side since high school. The three of us were inseparable. Dinners, vacations, even double dates. People used to call us the trio that never breaks. Ethan was charming, thoughtful, and ambitious. Maya was funny, supportive, and knew every secret I'd ever whispered at midnight. To the outside world, I had everything: a stable marriage, loyal friends, and a peaceful home. But what I didn't know was that the two people I trusted most had been sharing more than just my company. It started with little things: Ethan coming home late, Maya being overly curious about my marriage, her texts popping up at odd hours. I ignored it all, convincing myself that friendship and love could coexist without lines being crossed. Looking back now, the signs were there, I just refused to see them. The lipstick on his shirt, the sudden distance, the way Maya avoided eye contact whenever Ethan entered the room. Still, I believed them. Because when you love someone, betrayal is the last thing you expect, especially from both your husband and your best friend. But truth has a way of revealing itself, no matter how hard people try to bury it. And when it finally did, I realized this wasn't just about infidelity, it was about manipulation, deceit, and two people who thought I'd never fight back. They were wrong. It all began to unravel one evening during a small dinner party at our house. Ethan had invited a few colleagues, and of course Maya was there. She never missed an event I hosted. She showed up early, wearing a dress I'd once admired in a boutique but couldn't afford. I remember smiling and telling her she looked stunning. She just grinned and said, "Ethan picked it out for me." At the time, I laughed, but something deep inside me shifted. Throughout the night, Ethan kept vanishing into the kitchen, supposedly checking on the food, and Maya would follow moments later with a glass of wine. Each time they returned, they looked a little too comfortable, a little too synchronized. I noticed the way her hand brushed his arm, the way his voice softened when he spoke to her. Everyone else was too busy chatting to see what I was seeing. The tension in the room was invisible, but I could feel it wrapping around me like smoke. Even my mother later whispered, "Lena, your husband seems distracted tonight." I brushed it off, pretending everything was fine, pretending I was fine. But over the next few weeks, Ethan became a ghost. Late meetings, unread messages, and cold dinners became normal. When I confronted him gently, he'd smile and say, "You're overthinking, love. You've been stressed lately." And Maya? She suddenly started giving me advice about my marriage, telling me to trust Ethan more, to stop being paranoid. Every word, every excuse, every lie pushed me closer to the truth. The woman I considered my sister was whispering to my husband in the dark. The man I vowed to love was sharing our secrets with her. The perfect picture of my life was cracking, and behind it, a storm was waiting to break loose. The truth didn't come to me gently. It crashed down like thunder. One Friday night, Ethan told me he was working late on a project deadline. I believed him, again. But when I called his office around 9 p.m., his assistant casually said, "Oh, Ethan left hours ago with Maya." My stomach twisted. Still, I wanted to believe there was an innocent reason. So I drove to Maya's apartment, half shaking, half praying I was wrong. Her curtains were open just enough for me to see them, laughing, dancing, holding each other like I didn't exist. And then, the kiss. My heart stopped. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. My best friend, the woman who once cried on my shoulder about her failed relationships, was now with my husband. Tears blurred my vision, but anger kept me still. I didn't bang on the door, I didn't scream. I just sat there, watching the two people I loved most turn into strangers. When Ethan came home that night, his shirt smelled like her perfume. I asked nothing. He lied again. "Just work," he said, not even looking at me. The next morning, Maya sent me a text. "You deserve better, Lena. Don't blame Ethan. These things just happen." That line shattered me. Not just the betrayal, the arrogance of it. For days, I couldn't eat or sleep. I replayed every moment, every smile, every secret we ever shared. But beneath the heartbreak, something colder started to rise, a steady, calm fury. If they thought they'd broken me, they hadn't met the version of me that betrayal created. I spent weeks pretending to be broken silent, distant, defeated. Ethan thought I was too heartbroken to suspect anything more, and Maya kept playing the concerned friend, visiting me often, acting like nothing had happened. But while they were laughing behind my back, I was setting the stage. Ethan's birthday was coming up, and I told him I wanted to throw him a surprise dinner. He agreed instantly, flattered that I was moving on. I invited our closest friends, my family, and of course, Maya. I made sure she sat right beside him, where everyone could see how close they were. After dinner, I stood up to give a small toast. My voice trembled on purpose. I said, "Tonight, I just want to thank the two people who taught me the most about love, trust, and betrayal." The room went silent. I clicked the TV remote, and the screen behind me lit up with photos and videos I'd quietly collected from a hidden camera in Ethan's car. Him and Maya, together, laughing, kissing, lying. Gasps filled the room. Maya's face turned pale. Ethan's jaw dropped. My mother covered her mouth in shock. I looked right at them and smiled softly. "Happy birthday, Ethan, and Maya. Thank you for showing me who you really are." Then I raised my glass, took a sip, and walked out, leaving them to face everyone's silence. That was the last time I ever saw either of them. They thought they could outsmart me, but I made sure their lies destroyed their reputations, not mine. Sometimes revenge doesn't need fire or screams just truth, exposed at the perfect moment. The moment I walked out of that room, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. peace. Behind me, chaos erupted. Ethan tried to chase after me, stammering excuses while Maya broke down crying, begging people to understand. But no one did. Everyone saw the truth with their own eyes. There was no room left for lies. By the next morning, the story had spread through our entire social circle. Friends who once envied our perfect marriage were now whispering about their affair. Maya's fiancé, who had been out of town, called off their engagement the same day. Ethan was asked to take a break from his job after his boss, who was at the dinner, found his behavior disgraceful. Meanwhile, I quietly packed my things and left the house I once called home. I filed for divorce, deleted both of their numbers, and started therapy not because I was weak, but because I wanted to rebuild stronger. Months passed. The pain didn't vanish overnight, but it began to fade each time I remembered that night, the night they lost everything while I regained myself. Maya tried reaching out once, writing a long apology. I didn't reply. Ethan sent a letter too, full of regret. I burned it, because closure doesn't always come from forgiveness sometimes. It comes from knowing you took your power back. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see a victim anymore. I see a woman who was betrayed, and still won. Looking back now, I don't regret a single thing, not the silence, not the planning, and certainly not the way I chose to reveal the truth. People often say, revenge is poison, but I've learned it's only poison when it's done out of hatred. Mine was born out of clarity. It wasn't about destroying them, it was about reclaiming myself. For a long time I blamed myself. I kept wondering what I did wrong, how I didn't see it coming, how two people I loved could deceive me so easily. But the truth is, betrayal says more about the betrayer than the betrayed. I was genuine, they were not. That's not my failure. My revenge wasn't fire and fury, it was dignity and timing. I didn't need to scream or fight. I just needed to show the truth in the right light and let it speak for itself. Today, I'm not angry anymore. I'm grateful. Because losing Ethan and Maya taught me something priceless. Peace isn't about who stays. It's about who leaves and what you learn after they're gone. So, if you're watching this and you've been betrayed, remember this: you don't need to destroy anyone to win. Just heal, rise, and let your silence tell the story. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply becoming untouchable. So, what would you have done if you were in my place? Would you have walked away quietly or exposed the truth the way I did? I want to hear your thoughts. Tell me in the comments below. Your voice might just help someone who's going through the same kind of pain right now. If this story hit home, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Flame Revenge, because here, every story reminds us that strength isn't about never falling. It's about standing back up after being shattered. We post new stories every week, tales of heartbreak, betrayal, and the kind of comebacks that give you chills. So join our growing family of survivors and storytellers. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next twist. And remember, sometimes the people who try to break you are the ones who end up teaching you how powerful you really are. This was Flame Revenge, and I'll see you in the next story where justice may not come easy, but it always comes.